And welcome to another episode of Mysterious Forces Live. I am at Disclosure Con 2019 in Pinetop, Arizona. And I am so happy to be talking to Kesslyn Baird today. And she's an Australian podcaster and author, and I think she's got her fingers in lots of other pies beyond that. I'll let her explain her resume to you because she knows it much better than I do. Kesslyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Natasha. It's great to be here.
That's a hot mic. You don't have to eat it.
Oh, okay, lovely. I like it hot. And I like a good innuendo, you know that about me. So I started getting into all of this, I say that with, loose quotation marks, the spiritual, paranormal, ETs, from a young age, and I was always fascinated by telepathy, all that kind of thing. But the main thing that made me delve into this world, it probably started with the download, my book. So when I was 17, the only way I can explain it from what I was told by my guides is, it was a big download to kind of wake me up. My book is a take on the shift in consciousness, ascension, and soulmates, the idea of soulmates. And from then onwards, I just, things just unraveled, life just changed. I started being able to manifest things a bit more. I don't know if you're into that spiritual side, but things just everything just worked out from there onwards, where life was a bit up in the air till then. And I've experienced seeing craft through the spiritual practices that came from the download. I've had an ET visit me by the side of my bed, which is crazy. And what else? One of the major things, I recently did regression work because I don't remember anything to the age of 14. So I've got black spaces. And I confirmed with my mum these memories were true that did come back to me. She said I was taken out of class for special classes during year 3 in primary school. And year 1 also. She was told I was dyslexic, but she didn't think I was dyslexic. And then, in year 1, sorry. And then in year 3, they said that I was very intelligent. It was the opposite. And I was taken by, I remember being in a room with it looked like a library, but it wasn't a library. I was aware of that. And there was a few men in suits and children sitting around this table with me with blank looks on their face. And they're only memories I have from a young age. So right now I'm trying to figure out what went on there. And that's kind of my supernatural current circumstance right now. Or paranormal, military, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I'm about uncovering the truth and helping other people heal, and in doing so myself, because I feel like when you heal other people and you help other people, you help yourself.
So do you have a blog? What's your
sorry.
channel?
Yeah, so I've got a YouTube channel. It's Kesslyn Louise Baird. It's just my full name. And I talk about all things natural medicine and healing, and then my paranormal experiences. Just everything, really. And you can buy my book online on Amazon or through Pegasus's website, Pegasus Publishers. And I'm working on the second one. Should be out soon. It's kind of like a comical. It's not a sequel. I've got the sequel in the works as well. But I'm working on another one, which is kind of like a comical, quirky take on modern day spirituality for millennials to understand. To kind of segue into it and the ET stuff and explaining it. But not. It's not biased or anything. It's not too this is truth. It's kind of here it is, make up your mind about it. Yeah, right. That's why I try and stay that way.
Can you tell us about some of your paranormal experiences that you had?
Oh, yeah. So the first scariest one I had was being dragged out of my bed by my left ankle. I remember it so clearly. Something wrapped its hand around my ankle and it was trying to pull me from my bed. And I couldn't hear it laughing. I could feel laughter, if that makes sense. It was something beyond the senses. I was coming out of sleep. It wasn't sleep paralysis. I woke up with my leg off the bed. That was full on. And then in the similar circumstance to that, right before I got here, I was in Miami, and something grabbed me at 4 a.m. like this on my shoulder, and I thought it was someone waking me up to go to the airport to come here. And there was no one in the room. I literally was it was like a masculine energy. And all throughout this conference, things have been walking up to me and touching me and grabbing me. Actually, there's so much energy here. It's crazy, and beings. Not all of them good, so we've been doing a lot of protection work and stuff. But the ET one's probably the most insane, because I think we've all been believers for a long time, or I've been a believer for a long time. There's life on other planets, but you don't fully 100% believe it until you see it. It's that seeing is believing thing. Unfortunately, we all have that It's really hard to overcome. So I invented my own type of meditation for contacting extraterrestrials. It's kind of based on Stephen Greer's one. I know a lot of people don't like it, or like him, or his opinions, but it is a good foundation for contact. I just altered it to what resonated with me more. I had this bit where I send a light beam from my heart to the sky, like a kind of like a spotlight of where I am. And as soon as I did that, because I'd been doing meditation for a while to contact, and nothing had happened for a few months. This night, when I did the heart beam, I fell asleep, and then I woke up. I was awake, and I heard this like just high vibrating, and also a flexing metal sound, like whoa, 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 like that. There was two different sounds, kind of like alternating with each other, and this is how I know it happened. I went outside, and I stood out there, and I saw a craft in the sky, and I was just in shock. And I stood there for a while, and then it was moving around, red lights, like on the bottom. It was quite far away though, and I was kind of told myself it wasn't, but it was. Going on what happened afterwards. Anyway, I went back in bed, and I still had a little bit of sand on my feet because I was in the backyard on the bricks, and a little bit dusty, a little bit sandy. And I could feel the sand on my toes when the next bit happened. So I'm like, I was conscious because I moved my foot, and I could feel I'd been outside. I closed my eyes, lay back down in bed, and then literally a minute afterwards, I felt a presence standing next to me in my bed. And I was paralyzed, but it wasn't sleep paralysis because I did manage to move. And I turned my head, and I could feel it kind of being like not expecting me to fight the paralysis in a way. Does that make sense? And it was a small grey. It looked different to what I thought it would. So definitely wasn't a subconscious projection because it was, very different. The body was smaller than what I thought it would be. It was paralyzing me with its eyes. I don't know how I knew that. I just could feel it. And it was talking to me in my head in quite an invasive way. It was forcing its way into my head. But it wasn't, I don't think it was a dark energy. I wasn't scared. So I managed to move and turn my head to look at it, and it was looking down at me, and it was kind of like saying, "What's up? Like, what do you want? Why'd you call me here?" But it's not. You don't hear words in your head. It's like a knowing. That's how the telepathy works.
I've had an experience like that, so I understand it.
So and then it was trying to communicate with me. I think we were using visual stuff. It tried visual stuff. But it wasn't really working. We were getting a little bit back and forth, but it was frustrated. I could feel that, not in an angry way, just in like impatient kind of frustrated. And then I just wanted to make friends with it, I guess, or make peace, or And I had a granola bar next to my bedside table, and I managed to move my arm, and I remember being shocked that I could move, telepathically, kind of that energy. And I reached out for the granola bar and offered it like something to eat. I know that sounds crazy, and it looked at me like, what? Like, it didn't have eyebrows, but I felt like it was frowning at me, like, what the F-bomb?
You can use anything on this show that you want.
And this alien was like, what the fuck, bitch? Like, if this alien was a gangster, it'd be like, what the fuck? Like, it would just be like, I'm out. Like, let's drop this bitch. But there was a familiarity. I think it knew me. Like, I later got told by a 5D healer from South America, a very spiritual lady, that it was a student of mine, and I did work with it in the astrals, and it was kind of like came down like, what do you want? Like, it was, the lines of communications are already established with it in a way. We had that connection. That's why that particular one came to me. I didn't even realize what I was calling, and in hindsight I realized I've got to be more careful. You really do. You need to if you do want to make contact, know what being, first of all, you want to make contact with. Know that you're in the right place. Know that you haven't been drinking. You haven't, your aura's clear. There's, just know and put up that protection to whatever you think will protect you, because that intent is so powerful. It's like placebo effect. If you believe it'll work, a lot of the time it does. Mm-hmm. So and then it got frustrated. It tried to communicate with me a little bit longer, and then it walked to the end of my bed. And by the time it got to the end of my bed, it faded out, like phased out, I guess. Didn't go through a portal or anything. It just dissipated. So
how do you go from having these anomalous kinds of experiences to doing energy work and writing a book? Because a lot of people might have been just frightened by that kind of initial experience, being grabbed by something invisible. I can't help but think of the book, The Entity. I don't know if you ever read that.
I've heard of it.
It's an older book, but it was one lady's account of like being raped by this invisible being. And it was made into a movie at one point, but this was like probably early 80s, mid 80s, something like that. And so it's an older story, but it was based on a true story. And have you read much Carlos Castaneda?
No, I actually haven't. Sorry.
Okay, no, it's all right. Carlos Castaneda, he kind of blended what you might call mysticism. What's the better way to phrase it? He incorporated like real metaphysical principles into fiction. It was kind of a little bit like Hunter S. Thompson. Like there was some bullshit in there, some funny stuff, but then there was like real grains of truth hidden in all that. Right, exactly. So Carlos Castaneda, he had what he called in his stories the allies, and they were like non-human entities, maybe what some people would call nature spirits and elementals. And his premise was that these beings could appear like an angel to one person, but like a demon to another, or something even more bizarre, exotic, depending on who they interacted with or what the circumstances were. And I just am curious, since you've had that kind of contact, what's your theory on what that was, or how that could be?
On the grey alien, the small grey?
Being grabbed.
Oh,
by
being
the
grabbed.
invisible being. What's your take on what that is?
I feel like it's just wherever I go, I have opened myself up to things, and it's thinner. The veils, especially with the Schumann resonance, apparently like that's raising the solar flares, and apparently we are becoming more susceptible, if we already are, to things coming through. Like the veil is thinning, as they say. So, but even if that's not true, the last 3 months has been such a raise in things. Like I've never had so much contact before, and so much like things grabbing me and touching me. So I think that really does resonate with me. That the veil is thinner. I think it depends on what. I only seem to pick up energies that are in, like maybe on the land, like this land, maybe Native Americans. I'm thinking it doesn't really have. I don't think I have things following me around, or it's not like an angel or a guide. I feel like it's whatever's in the place I'm staying at the time. It's just trying to like get that. What do we call it? Get that it wants to be acknowledged. The acknowledgement.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's just things wanting to be acknowledged. And everyone wants to be acknowledged. And obviously, things that are stuck in this plane, they've got unresolved things, don't they? So I think it's a little bit of that. Yeah.
Cool. So tell us about the first book you wrote, the title of it, and what's the premise of the book?
Okay. So The Able, it's about a girl, Elizabeth, in a small town in America. It's kind of it's like a modern Romeo and Juliet, modern but more funny and quirky and supernatural. And then these people come to the town. One of them is her soulmate. Eventually turns out to be her soulmate, but not in the traditional sense of what we think soulmate is. So the book's called The Able because the people are called The Able. They're able to do more than normal humans. In the book, it's kind of they don't really know where they came from, but it's theorized that they're just evolution a little bit beyond other humans. Mm-hmm. So they've got a special order, and each of them have the power, and everyone's power manifests differently, special abilities. And when they find their soulmate, they know that that's their soulmate because they can't use their abilities on them. The emotional connection blocks it. Okay. And it's just I don't know. It's just part of them being able to recognize them. It's like an evolution thing, like a protection for the partner as well. Mm-hmm. But when the non-able, like a normal human, because they have to, their soulmate's always a normal human because it's to carry on the line. So when they find each other, they become unable once they procreate. It's like an exchange of energy, which when you have sex, you actually do have that exchange of energy and cords are established. So it's a little bit of a play on that. And they become unable as well. And so her family, her parents, you don't know. Should I ruin the book? Should I ruin the book?
Yeah.
I ruined the book by telling the storyline?
Oh, no, you won't ruin it. No, I think it's intriguing. This will generate interest.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So, there's a bit of time travel in there. Like, one of the Ables actually a Jewish person rescued from Nazi Germany. So, there's a bit of time travel to Germany. And it really simplifies the time travel idea and notion. So Elizabeth and Derek are the main characters. And the Romeo and Juliet bit comes from the fact that her family actually hunted down Able, that they're from and neither of them know about each other. Like, she doesn't know anything about the Able. Her parents do, but have kept it from her. They've kind of broken off from all the evangelistic kind of, crusaders that they call. Derek's family don't know that there's They're called the hunters, in the town. And so he realizes straight away it's his soulmate, but fights it because he's a warrior for the people kind of thing. Like on the side, he does missions and time travels and stuff. Anyway, this long-winded thing, you find out that one of her relatives actually was killed by his great uncle, who's like the Voldemort of the Able, and it's all about him. It's all about and he time travels, and he steals Able powers, and it's all about defeating him.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's like there's lots of other little layers, and you're like, like the first book will make sense when all the other books are finished.
Right.
Yeah.
So, is that the first book you had written?
Yeah, I read it when I was 17 in a week. It's 480 pages.
Wow.
I wrote it in a week. Didn't sleep. I had chronic insomnia. Like I said, it was a total download. I couldn't type fast enough. I'm so glad now they've got predictive voice to text on my phone, so I actually write a lot of my book voice to text on my phone, email it to myself, and then edit it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because you can get your thoughts out way fast. I highly recommend that.
Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah, I was going to ask you about the writing process because the people who write a lot of content, especially novels, it's a time-consuming endeavor. Some people agonize over it, and then in your case, some people just kind of have it all at once, whether it's some kind of a download or an idea, and it just kind of pours out of them. And a lot of art is that way. But I think writing books and writing in general kind of requires you to sequester yourself away from the rest of the world. You have to kind of create a space for yourself to allow that to happen because it's part of that process. Was that part of that for you, that you kind of had to sequester yourself away, focus on the task at hand, and then come out of the other end, like in terms of editing and proofreading later and kind of making sure it all made sense?
Yeah. I actually had really bad depression. I was very lonely. I didn't want to be around people. I was studying at university and I was staying on campus at a college, and I spent most of my time in my room apart from when I went to classes. I was 17, so I couldn't go out and drink with everyone else because my birthday's in December. In Australia, you only have to be 18 to go out and drink. So I was in my room all the time, and I was really depressed, and that's when it came to me in a dream, actually. One of the scenes in the book is a literal dream that I had, and then the whole book just kind of formed around it, like a big download when I woke up.
That's wild. Switching gears a little bit, haven't talked to you, and we hung out last night at the VIP party, which was a blast, by the way. Doc Skinner hosted a great party at the Lodge Sports Bar and Grill in Pinetop, Arizona. We had a great time. You're a bit of a world traveler. I'm wondering if you can talk about your world travels a little bit and how you started out in Australia and wound up here in Pinetop, Arizona. And you and I sat at the same table at the gala at the International UFO Congress. We kind of met each other there and have gotten to know each other over these last couple of events. How did you leave Australia, end up traveling to all the places you had, and then, here you are?
Yeah, I think it was from doing plant medicine ceremonies and opening up my third eye and getting all this information, I realised I wasn't supposed to be in Australia. I actually thought I was supposed to be in Scotland or Ireland. That's what I got. So I thought I was going to end up there. When my book was published, I met someone in Australia who lived in London, a gentleman, and we kind of had a romantic relationship. So I changed it to going to London because my publisher's in London, Pegasus. So I thought, my publisher's there, cool, he's there. That didn't really work out, and I'd been here for the... I sold everything, so I had nothing. I just had a suitcase, that's all I had. Got rid of everything in Australia. And I had come here before I went to London, I came past America, I know, it'd be crazy, to go to the Contact in the Desert, which was my first ever conference. And which I think I manifested, because for years I've been into this stuff and I hadn't ever been anywhere, I've been all over the world, but never to a conference about the paranormal UFOs. And I had a vision board and I wrote on it where all the things I wanted to go to and do, and I had people I wanted to meet, and I've literally met them all within 6 months. Some of them I'm friends with now. It's crazy. It's definitely made me believe in manifestation. I thought I'd end up in Scotland or Ireland, didn't. But it's funny, my psychic friend was like, you're going to end up back in America. And I did. I was like, no, I'm not going back to America. And now I'm here, and I surprisingly really like it. I'm really excited and proud to be a part of this community, and I love helping other people, and there's just so much opportunity to do that. Yeah.
That's cool. As kind of an aside or a sidebar, I'd like you to dispel some myths. What do you think Americans assume about people in Australia that aren't true?
That we ride kangaroos to school, obviously. And we don't throw no shrimp on the barbie. They're called prawns.
Oh.
What else? We don't call each other Sheila for a woman. No. Vegemite is delicious. You don't need to put that much on the bread. It's all about the butter to Vegemite ratio, or nut butter if you're vegan. Yeah, what else? Oh, Foster's. We don't drink Foster. Nobody drinks Foster's.
Really?
Nobody drinks.
It's
not.
bullshit thing?
It's a bullshit thing. Where's Emu Export represent? That's our drink. If it's got a native animal on it, it's a real Australian beer.
No American with self-respect drinks Budweiser either. So
I'm Australian, I guess. So
I'm a beer snob a little bit, so I'm just Budweiser.
Craft beers in Australia now. It's a big thing. You'd love it.
That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. And you guys have a lot of shark attacks off the coast.
Yeah, I think it's to do with the water getting warmer. They're coming in, or it's something to do with
climate change is affecting the migration patterns.
I think it's something to do with the shift in like the polar shift that's happening on the Earth. We are going through, and apparently they think we're going through towards another ice age or something. A big shift, big throw up. I definitely think that. And someone was talking in the share session this morning about certain animals becoming extinct and being like when the ecosystems are disturbed, it affects the whole ecosystem. Like he was saying, there's this story about a wolf, Yellow Mountain wolf. So it's a really good story. They took all the Yellow Mountain wolves out of this mountain area, and then the riverbanks, like they started to degrade everything because more animals were eating the fauna on the floor because there was less animals getting killed by the wolves. The balance was thrown off, and the whole ecosystem fell apart until they introduced the wolves back in again. And I feel like in the oceans, we've been overfishing, and there's radiation, there's all this. It's been thrown out. So animals are doing things they don't usually do. People are going to get attacked more, and it's just a break in this. It's just that food chain is being disrupted, and that's why the sharks are coming in, I reckon.
I know. An issue near and dear to my heart is wolf conservation. If anyone checks out my Twitter feed very much, daily I retweet wolf conservation posts. I believe very much in it because they're an apex predator, but they're such an important part of our ecosystem, and they're vilified and demonized by people, and they should not be. And personally, even though I believe in personal property, obviously, I can't get behind the idea that a rancher thinks they have to kill wolves just to protect their financial interests. And that's basically because these ranchers, or even people who aren't ranchers, you moved into the wolves' habitat. You came into their home. And then you're going to disrespect this species by trying to kill it off to protect your own interests when you chose to live there in the first place. Yeah. So if you don't want wolves to eat your cattle, don't live where there are wolves to eat cattle. Go somewhere else. I'm just very, they've hunted wolves almost to extinction. And they're beautiful, intelligent animals. And it just breaks my heart to hear about, them that's just wanting to ride in a helicopter and shoot wolves just as population control. It's pretty sick.
I fostered a husky once. I like so similar to a wolf. I love wolves.
So I was wondering if we could kind of bookend the conversation a little bit and tell me about some of this conscious contact with aliens, because I'm really curious about that and what you've learned about them, or maybe if they have an agenda or don't have an agenda, or you don't have to give the whole thing away, but I'm just wondering if you can tell us a little bit about what that experience is like and what you've learned.
Okay, so it might be a bit a bit far-fetched and full-on for some people. What I believe I've been a part of with the ETs, I've had dreams, and I've felt being operated on. Not painfully though. It's the tugging, the feeling of something being pulled internally out of me, in my lady parts area. Sorry to be a bit. And then I've also had dreams around those times where I'm playing with these children in the astrals, and I believe I might have been a part of a hybrid children program. I've been pregnant before. I had a miscarriage, so I don't have a child, but I know the symptoms of being pregnant. And it's so funny because I had a psychic yesterday tell me, "You've got 3 hybrid children," and I was like, "That's so weird," because I've thought I was pregnant 3 times. I know the symptoms. I randomly just stood up, ran to the toilet, threw up, felt fine. An hour later, was sure that I was pregnant, but then it went away. So they did, yeah. I had all the symptoms, everything. So I don't know. Make up your own mind about me and that. But I believe that there is a connection there. That I've made a contract maybe to contribute to some kind of genetic program. I know that they would tie in if it was military, because they use apparently greys as drones. It could relate to the visitation I had by that alien. If it could relate to what I was part of as a child when I was taken out of class, and my mum never got any news about what I learnt from the special classes. She was actually, I talked to her the other day, she's like, yeah, it was weird, like we thought maybe you'd get into a better college, like, no, not that I didn't go to a good college, like, so they'd be like, yeah, she's awesome, like she needs to be doing this, and like, she needs to be this person, and it just like, nothing eventuated from it. It was random. So that could have been some, I feel like they target certain people that, like military, they pick up people that are, they know are going to be used by ET for things. Genetic programming, they want to be either microchip the people and be in control of them and track them and see what the ETs are up to, or they are with the ETs, I find. They work with them. So that's where I think...
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's an interesting... There's a lot to that. There's a lot to unpack with all that. So I can imagine how that takes some time to kind of like process that kind of information and integrate that into your life. And, do you feel like predominantly that's really what's drawn you into these rooms, these events, and into this world of all this?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think... So I like to try to live my life without the things that I've found controlling my day-to-day. I mean, being aware of them is great, but coming here is like my time to discuss it, deal with it, help other people, and form... Like, I think every experience we have is to contribute to helping another person. We live through that experience so that, to unite the consciousness, because if we have that experience, someone else can share it with us and we can connect with them and understand it better. We all become more harmonious. It's part of the thing. So that's why I come to these conferences, to put aside that time to healthily talk about these things, no matter what your opinion of my experience, or if you don't believe me, if I hold it true, maybe I'm a crazy person, but it resonates with me, and if it resonates with someone else, I'm so honoured to have someone to talk about it at these conferences. So thank you.
So other than the book that you're writing to follow up on The Able, and we know that's in the works, are you going to be making any appearances, doing any lectures, or any projects like that coming up?
Nothing's in the books just yet, but Doc wanted to do an Empowering Woman conference, so I'd love to talk about writing there and stuff. That'd be really cool. That might be in the books. I also do a little bit of work with Clifford Mahooty sometimes, so sometimes I go to things with him. I'm just going to stay in touch with everyone and see what happens, but I just want to get back into all the healing work, and hopefully I want to work on a script for the book. I've always dreamed of it being a movie. I wrote it. It was like a movie in my head. It played out like a movie.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. And Clifford Mahooty was supposed to be here, but I hear he's under the weather. Yeah. So even though this will air much longer after the fact, I hope that Mr. Mahooty feels very... Yeah. No, he's a cool guy. I met him at the UFO Congress as well. Yeah. So where can people find your channel? Where can they find your book? How can they get access to what it is you have to offer?
Okay. So I'm on Instagram if you want to follow me there and my travels and what I'm up to. Contact me. It's just my full name is I was the first ever Kesslyn with Instagram. It's just Kesslyn. It's pretty cool. And then YouTube is Kesslyn Louise Baird, my full name, which is also on my book. If you want to search, you can just search my full name or The Able Kesslyn, and you can get all the different places online. You can buy the book. Most of them are Waterstones and foils in the UK because my publisher's UK, but Amazon America has it. And there's audio and Kindle as well. It's a great read. I would say it's more young adult, but I've had heaps of adults message me and be like, loved it. It's not juvenile in any way, and it gets a little bit.
Did you read the book for the audio version?
I haven't done it yet. No, I think they've just got one person that does it all, Pegasus, for all the publishers. But I'd like to pick someone to do it, the next one.
Yeah, cool. All right, Kesslyn Baird, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and once again, this is Mysterious Forces Live, and I am at Disclosure Con 2019 in Pinetop, Arizona. We're at the Honda Casino and Resort, and this is Apache Nation land up here, so we're on the Apache Reservation. And we always appreciate the hospitality and the generosity of the Apache Nation. They're great hosts, and I love coming up here. So if you haven't liked, please do it. If you haven't subscribed, what the hell is wrong with you? And if you like this video, please share it, because that helps spread the word. And once again, you've chosen to spend your time with us here, and I know there's a lot of things you could have done with your time. There's another show you could have watched, but you chose to watch this show, and I always appreciate that. So thank you so much to my subscribers and my viewers, and we'll catch you again with another episode soon. Mysterious Forces Live 2019 Disclosure Con. Thanks. Awesome.